example 1, I want you to clear out your y equals, and I want you to get the linear equation back into the y equals with a proper window. So when you get your linear regression, you'll get it on your main screen, correct? And you can recalculate it, or it's sitting in your y equals. So can everyone recalculate it for me again, just so it's sitting on your window? So we go stat, calc, linear regression. Stat, calc, linear regression, enter, enter, enter. And you get a thing on your screen that says this. It goes like y equals ax plus b. It gives you the form it is, and then it tells you what you insert for a, and it tells you what you insert for b, correct? Now, when we put it into our y equals, is everyone listening? When we put it into our y equals, we don't want to put rounded decimals into our y equals. We want the whole thing to move over. So that's why we use var, statistics, over to equation, enter, right? Once we're in y equals and we input it in there. But when we write the actual equation out, we can write it out to whatever they tell us, 2 decimal places or whatever. So 0.58, that would be a 6. If it's 2 decimal places, x minus 1,635.73. That would be rounded. Do I want that into my y equals, though? I never want to round. I only want to round in the very last step of every answer. And typing it into my y equals is not rounding. So you cannot put the round, well, you can, you'll get it wrong. If you put it in the rounded one into your y equals, you'll lose marks. So please go to your y equals and go statistics. So you go var, statistics, over to equation, enter, and you should have it sitting into your y equals, right? You do all those steps to get it in there. Then we change our window to be below 1996. Above 2009. The scale isn't that important. Minimum distance, I don't know, below 78, above 90. You will only error if, like, say my x max is 120, and I want to find out when they get to a distance of 130. My calculator can't find it because my max is too small, right? So put in whatever you think for now. Okay. Here it says, determine the world record distance for the year 2006. And then we went to the nearest hundredth of a kilometer. So year 2006, is that X or Y? I always label my tables. Label my table. It's X. So they gave me X equals 2006. Now on your other page, it tells you how to input an X. Everyone listening? So if they give me an X on the back side of the one page, it tells you what to do. But what you're really going to do is you're going to go second, trace. And whenever you press second, it gives you the word behind what you're pressing. What's the word above trace? Calc. So we're trying to calculate something. So if ever we have an X and we want to input and find out a Y, we do second trace, value. And what pops up on your screen? X equals. And what are you going to put in? 2006. If it gets mad at you, it's because you don't have a big enough window. Second trace value, 2006. That's decimals. And I get to the nearest hundredth. How many zeros does 100 have? 2. So it's 2 decimal places. So it's going to be 86.37 kilometers. If this was a diploma or a test, we would have to actually show that. Write out a sentence. Determine the world record distance for the year 2006. The world record distance for the year 2006 was 86.37 kilometers. Okay? Now, can you guys all do something for me? Go to your window and make your window X max. Make it be 2000. Make your X max be 2000. Then press graph. Now we're going to try and calculate 2006. So let's try it again. Second, trace, value, 2006. What happens? It gets mad at me because my window max is at 2000 right now. So my window max has to be at least 2006. Yep. You don't want to trace, you have to calculate something. So you need to go to a different value. We have the trace button too, but the trace buttons are inaccurate. You need to probably tells them here. Okay, let's look at this one. Determine the first year the distance reached over 85 kilometers. Kilometers is y, correct? You see that? So now we have to do y. Where is the place where you have a y? Very top left y equals button. So go to your y equals and put into your y2. Do not clear out your y1 if you've gotten rid of your equation. Go to your y2 and put in 85. And press graph. Can you actually see where they cross with 2000? No. With 2000, you can't see where they cross. So you need to make your x max bigger. You may still have a bigger x max and then you can see it. But go to your window and make your x max be like 2030, let's say. Make your x max be 2030. Now can you see where they cross?
We can see it, we can't determine what it is.
Right. So we know that we can see it now, and if we can see it, our calculator can find it. So we want to calculate something again, correct? Where do we go to calculate something? So we put this into y2, and then we go second, trace, because that's where you calculate stuff. And what do we want to find now? Where they do what? Where those two lines do what? Intersect, which is number 5. And then you hit enter 3 times. Not enter 3 multiplication sign. Enter, enter, enter. Figured it out? So intersection for this one is 2004.3941. It says the first year it reached over 85. So that's when it reaches 85. So what am I going to have to go to be over 85? 2005. Do you guys have it figured out? You have it figured out too? You have it. Okay. Now we need the domain and range in this context. We're going to deal with domain and range right now. So domain is year. Can it be any year? Technically we could. We could be any year. What could our distance be? Where does distance start? Where does years start technically? At 0, and distance would start at 0. So you'd have to say that your domain is greater than or equal to 0 and your range is greater than or equal to 0, right? We're going to go to this one. We're restarting a question. When we restart a question, what do we redo first? The very first step. We go to what and clear? Not your lists. What do you want to clear first? Your y equals. Because sometimes you'll clear your lists, but you don't input it into your y equals. So if we just clear out our y equals, nothing can be drawn in there, correct? So clear out your y equals first, then put in your data. So I want you once again, list 1, list 2. This is your x, this is your y. And get a linear regression equation and change your window. Go. So this one says determines the nearest hundredth. So we're going to get y equals, it says where necessary. So we're going to, that's not true. I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to write the whole thing in. Because this is a typo. It needs to not be the nearest hundredth. Because the whole thing is nicely rounded. So I'm just going to write the whole thing out. Okay. So that should be your equation. Our window, our x minimum number of shirts you could buy is 0. Or they have 740, so I'm going to put 1,000. You can do what you want. The y minimum cost per shirt would be 0, would be the absolute lowest you could pay for a shirt. And then it's 520 is the biggest, I'll put $10. And then I have a line somewhere on there. Now the line could be very low. But remember that you have to actually have an equation. So if you don't have a line showing up, 97% of the time when you press y equals, there's nothing in it, right? So you should have some sort of declining linear equation. Okay? Now here it says Matt has misplaced the information from his supplier about price discounts on bulk orders. He would like to get the price below 150. Now a lot of you guys will put $1.49 then. No. He just wants the price below $1.50. So you put in $1.50 and then you're going to have to probably buy one more shirt to get it to be below 150, right? Like that's what you do. You don't put in $1.49. So $1.50. Now we have to decide, is that X or Y? So we look along the top of our table. X is number of shirts. Y is cost per shirt. They want $1.50. So did they give me X or did they give me Y? They gave me Y. So in Y2, I need to put $1.50. So I go to my Y2 and I put $1.50, and then what do I have to do? Find out where those two lines intersect. First, check and see that you can see where they intersect. If you can't see where they intersect, you need to make your X max bigger. Okay? Because your calculator can't find an intersection it cannot see. So then we go second trace 5. Which is intersect. And then enter 3 times. Enter, enter, enter. And I get 769 shirts. 769.23 blah, blah, blah shirts. That would get me, if I bought 769.23 shirts, that would cost me $1.50. The more shirts they buy, the less it costs, correct? I need to be below $1. If I bought 769 shirts, would it be below $1.50? That would be a little bit above. So what do I need to buy? 770. I need to buy more and make it cost less. And to write the sentence, you'd say I need to buy 770 shirts so that the price of the shirt would be below $1.50, right? Full sentences. Domain and range we'll talk about later. We're just trying to use our buttons, the X and Y buttons, figuring out what we have to do. Okay? Moving on. Once again, it's a linear regression. What's the very first thing we do before we start this question? Go to Y equals, clear them out, and then read it. The world record time for the men's 100-meter sprint was 10 seconds in 1960. The table below shows the world record since 1960. They're getting faster, obviously. And they want to, it follows a linear regression. So get yourself a linear regression using this exact data. 0 would represent 1960, correct? If they asked me for 1968, I would put an 8, right? If they asked me for 1983, I would put in 23, right? I don't put in those actual numbers, you know what I'm saying? Because it says after years after 60. So this, I'm going to put in this exact table. I'm not putting in 1963, 1983, 1960. I'm putting in 0, 8, 23, 31. Do you know what I'm saying? Put in the table exactly how it looks and get a linear regression. Try it out. So it says here, linear regression that models it. So it says nearest hundredth, but in that case it would be 0.01 x plus 10.03. Can we put the rounded equation into our y equals? No, it will give us wrong answers. Okay, what does the y-intercept represent in this context of this question? The y-intercept is when x equals 0. That's this one. What does it represent? The time of the eraser in 1960, correct? Yeah. And then determine the world record in 2007. So what do we do? 2007 minus 1960. That is not a 9. 1960, and we get 47, and that's the year, correct? So that is what? X. So we do second trace value 47. It will error you if you don't have a maximum of 47. So it's 9.72 seconds, right? And then what time did it drop below 9.89 seconds, that being Y2? Remember, we don't put below that. We put 9.89, and we'll round our year up, correct? So we go to our Y2, put in 9.89, second trace 5, enter, 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 and I get 21.47. is at 9.89. So I need to go to 22 years. It asks what year that is. That isn't the year 22 years. What year is that? 1982. 1960 plus 22. Tomorrow we're finishing these ones up, and then we're doing some written response. We're going to be done this unit by Monday. Yeah.